All right, people, thanks for tuning in. Aloha, I am Dave, and this is Save America, Vote Tulsi Gabbard. I want to thank everybody who has come on over to this channel. I looked at my little app this morning, which tracks all the YouTube stuff, and I am over 4,000 subscribers, which a few weeks ago I thought was impossible. The channel had plateaued, and I literally went on a rant about, I guess this is it. I know part of it is because Tulsi Gabbard is beginning to really catch fire. Last night she was on with Bill Maher, and before I go into this video, which Tulsi was fantastic in this video, by the way. Just going to say that at the outset. Bill Maher is he's a tribalist. He's a Russiagator. He wants to, again, sort of stir the pot about things that most people really don't care about at this point. One of those things is, of course, impeaching Donald Trump. Now, as a former Trump supporter, maybe you think, well, hey, you've got empathy toward Trump and you just don't want to see him go. Again, folks, you impeach Trump, you put the country through hell, okay, number one. Number two, you get Mike Pence. All right, so I don't understand how that's going to make things better. And I say this because it's a truth. Now, these people want to go through the exercise of doing it, all right, because you keep hearing, well, if we don't do it, then, we're setting a precedent. No, they want to do it because, number one, it's ratings, it's a lot of money going into various resistance coffers and so forth, where, because there are a group of people that can't function in society right now because they have Donald Trump derangement syndrome, and it's really tragic. It's really sad that people can't wake up in the morning and enjoy their life. No person should have that much pull over your existence. You need to get medical help if that's the case. Now, I did say I wanted to talk about something briefly. For those of you folks that like free speech, I found this web browser called Dissenter, and I know it's part of the whole Gab.ai thing, which came out a year or two ago, which is a response basically to all of the censorship going on via Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. And some people say, oh, it's a bunch of crazy right-wingers over there. I don't know. I think free speech is kind of a cool thing. And they don't track your data. So I downloaded that puppy really fast and tried it out, and it works fantastic. It's just as fast, if not even a little faster than Chrome. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there if you're a fan of free speech. Now let's get back to this video, though. I'm going to play a portion of it here where Bill Maher is making the case that, Trump is over, making jokes with Putin, and that's just a bad thing. Now, the first part of the interview was very sort of cordial, and Tulsi walks out. She gets this amazing response, and Bill Maher is like, oh, did you bring these people with you, or is that an organic response? And it was completely organic, and I think it caught Bill Maher a little by surprise.
Reporter said, are you going to tell President Putin not to meddle in the election? He made a joke out of it. He made a joke out of the fact, he said something about reporters, fake news. We have to deal with that. You're lucky in Russia, you don't. Which, Putin has killed, by some accounts, over 20 journalists. So get it, haha. I mean, this is just beyond the pale.
Yeah. I mean, we have to take seriously the security of our elections.
See, and Tulsi Gabbard does the right thing here. She pivots. She doesn't sit here and see. Maher wants her to commiserate with him about how evil Trump is when it comes to this relationship with Putin. In the meantime, all of the peacemongers out here, like myself, okay, would prefer that we don't have nuclear conflict with any country, including Russia. we prefer that there isn't a Cold War happening. And I'll tell you what, Tulsi here lays out what kind of hacking can happen. Let's play this, or I'll play this, and then I'll come back, and I want to make, obviously, more comments.
Because of the vulnerabilities that exist still now, that really have the ability to undermine our democracy. There's a hacking conference that's held every year in Las Vegas where I think a 14 or 15-year-old girl from Florida hacked into a replica of Florida's election system in less than 15 minutes. There are too many states in this country who still don't use any type of paper ballot or have any paper record of the votes that are cast. So when you think about whether it's a foreign country or a rogue actor or a high school student who's going in with the intent of manipulating the outcome of the votes that we cast, that is the true danger to our democracy and to our elections. I've introduced legislation called the Securing America's Elections Act that would very simply solve that. Make sure that there's either a paper ballot, or if you're using a machine, have a voter-verified paper backup so that no matter what happens, no matter who tries to interfere in our elections, we have the ability to audit that and make sure that
Republicans wouldn't vote for it?
That well, the problem is that whether it's Republicans in leadership or Democrats in leadership.
See, and here's the thing, and you know, I hate this about what I call garden variety tribalist liberals who do this knee-jerk thing. Well, it's all the Republicans that wouldn't vote for it. I don't know. I think you might get Mike Lee on board. I don't know. I think you might get Ted Cruz to go for this. I think there'd be a whole bunch of guys who have kind of staked their claim on representing the country, representing the Constitution, being so-called constitutional conservatives, which, again, and from what I'm watching, what I'm seeing on Twitter, because the reaction to Tulsi Gabbard is so positive from people that these people hate, okay? Tucker Carlson, Breitbart, Drudge, oh my gosh, you can't have support from those entities because that means you're just a, you know, people are saying she's a GOP right-wing plant. Really? Because I didn't know the GOP was down with Medicare for all. Haven't heard about that. I didn't know that the GOP was for forgiving student loan debt. Didn't hear about that. And I could go down the list of all the things, the issues that matter to people where Tulsi doesn't line up with the GOP. Just saying. All right, let's roll this some more.
They're talking about how much they care about the security of our elections, but they've failed to do anything about it. They've failed to pass my legislation or other people who've introduced similar pieces of legislation. It's all talk. It's not action.
It's amazing to me how the Republicans can see
Okay, now here he goes. He pivots back to the Republicans. And this is some kind of blind disconnect with reality, Bill. Okay? It's everybody. It's both political parties. And you want to play tribal, Democrats good, Democrats good, Republicans bad. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not sticking up for the Republicans here. I'm just saying she's talking about a very specific issue, and she's got solutions. She lays it out. She gets an applause line, and immediately he jumps in with, well, the Republicans, this has nothing to do with the Republicans here. Just stop it. Just knock it off.
See a display like that of Trump with Putin. He's done
Again,
it before, but you know, with the
can you believe this display of, Bill, Trump's been in office for what, 2-3 years now? You kind of know his shtick. You kind of know what he's gonna do when a reporter asks a question. He's gonna just, you know, throw out fake news and talk about, you know, what, I don't know. Trump has a thing, and he does his thing every single time. It's very predictable. It isn't very presidential, I'll say this, but, you know, I'm not Ben Shapiro. I'm not going to measure somebody on their aloofness and their so-called erudite decorum and so forth. If the guy's getting the job done for his constituents or for the people that voted for him, that's the most important thing. And a lot of Trump supporters believe that. Now, personally, he lost me on this whole regime change war thing, which, by the way, they're going to talk about here. And again, they'll pivot over to that. Tulsi just does a masterful job here.
American flag pin.
Yeah.
I think you got to take that pin off if you're okay with that.
Look, getting back to what our mission is, what our focus is putting the interests of the American people above all else. And that is the problem with Washington. Whether it's one party or the other party, they'll go after the other party while they turn a blind eye to the problems of their own.
Okay, and he just says they're tribal, but you're being tribal. You're being tribal because you've bought into a Russian hoax, although you've been on your show saying to Democrats like Adam Schiff or whatever, hey, I don't think you guys got anything here. Can you see that you're making Trump stronger by doing this? And yet he's trying to get her to go over to his crazy side of things and talk about things that most Americans don't care about. Again, no talk about Medicare for all, no talk about, the private prison system and what they're doing, no talk about, the prohibition, the national prohibition against marijuana, nothing, just tribal politics. And he even says, oh, they're tribal.
Rather than putting the people first.
Yes,
I know.
So, one place where you're fairly similar to Trump is you're a non-interventionist.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's, you're fairly similar to Trump. You're a non-interventionalist. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard would be hiring John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, or Elliot Abrams. I have a hunch she's not going to hire those people to work in her administration. Well, let's roll.
We've seen this with Iran lately. He's kind of torn. Part of him, of course, always wants to strike back.
Yeah.
But he has kind of staked his claim, foreign affairs-wise, on being the guy who does not want us to get into more wars, more regime change wars. Yeah. You're on that same page.
He talked a lot about that in his 2016 campaign. But through his administration and through his presidency, we've seen something very different. I think that's why a lot of folks who voted for him they feel very betrayed.
Why? What wars has he got us into?
You mentioned Iran. He says he doesn't want to go to war.
What wars has he got us into? Didn't he just deploy 1,500? Was it 1,500 troops? 1,000 troops? So if you're deploying troops means war, Bill. Okay, you don't deploy troops for no reason. Like, you don't send them on a cruise somewhere. You're actually sending them to a region because you're setting things up. It takes a while to do all the staging so you can begin a war. So his comment here is so naive, like, oh, well, Trump isn't, he's not doing enough in the area of war. I wish he would have just pulled the trigger the other day, but, he failed to do that. So Tulsi's trying to outline, and this, by the way, this goes right to why I'm doing this channel. Because I jumped off the train when those missiles were fired into Syria. For no reason, on bad intelligence, and it was proven later that all of us conspiracy theorists, all of our, all of the Russian bots, myself and others, we were correct on this, and we were just skeptical. We were like, hey, do you launch missiles because of this? Because Ivanka Trump has seen the intelligence, and she is telling her father that he's got to do something because these kids are being gassed or whatever, which everybody says it looks like the whole thing was staged. But anyway.
War with Iran. But if you look at the actions that he and his administration have taken, and maybe he's not aware of it, maybe these guys are doing it on their own, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, and others, but every single decision that they have made towards Iran is laying the groundwork for an eventual war.
But we're not there yet, and he could have done it last week when they shot down the drone. And he said something which I think if Obama had said it, we would have liked, which was, hey, we don't know who made that order. That's what Kennedy said in the Cuban Missile Crisis.
That's right.
Let's not be rash.
Trump really doesn't want to go to war with Iran. He's got to swallow his pride and get back into the Iran nuclear deal.
Swallow his pride. That's not going to happen.
No, because if he doesn't, John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and others, they have literally laid the dynamite and lit the fuse.
But one thing about him, he's the boss.
Yeah.
He doesn't care what other people say.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a weird exchange, because is Bill Maher kind of sticking up for Trump here, or he wants to make the connection that Tulsi is like Trump, and Tulsi's trying to say, well, no, because he should get back into the Iran nuclear deal. Tulsi, I'm sure, could have said this where, gee, well, sending troops to Iran isn't really an indicator of a guy who wants to completely pull back from this. The fact that he didn't launch the attack, yeah, and he's comparing it to something that Kennedy would do. So it's kind of a weird exchange here. I didn't quite get that, but let's finish this up.
So where are you on impeachment?
Impeachment is not going to get rid of Donald Trump.
No?
We've got to understand that first.
Probably.
It's realistically, it's
so
not.
You're a no on that yet.
No, because I think it's important that the American people are the ones who decisively defeat Donald Trump in 2020.
Okay. That's the debate in your party.
Yeah.
Good luck with the campaign.
It's actually really not the debate in her party. She's one of the few that believe in going to the ballot box to take care of Donald Trump. And he had to kind of admit, yeah, you're probably right, impeachment wouldn't get rid of Donald Trump because he's not going to get convicted in the Senate. All right, and that's the key. I mean, this would be Bill Clinton again, where, the House says sure because the House is majority Democrat, but then you've got to have the Senate to get a conviction. This is what a lot of people don't understand about impeachment. So the whole thing would be a useless exercise. And Tulsi Gabbard sees that. Here they are shaking hands. And a big, huge round of applause from the audience because they agreed with Tulsi, I think. I think they understand where Tulsi's coming from on every issue. Now, a thing that I've noticed, it's starting to happen, and this is predictable. This is mostly coming from, say, like the TYT branch of whatever progressive media is. I don't know anymore. I can't really put my finger on it. It's the same people that are loving Kamala Harris's performance. It's the same people that are propping up Elizabeth Warren. They're all now coming out of the woodwork talking about the people from the right who are liking on Tulsi Gabbard. And it's just, no, you can't have that. That's just incomprehensible. We cannot have this Republican plant. Believe me, she's not a Republican plant because Republicans are all for war, okay? She's not a plant. And again, I go through all the different issues down the line where she is different from Republicans. She wants some, hardcore legislation passed, doing background checks, eliminating certain types of weapons and so forth. I don't think Republicans are running on those issues. I mean, you could, again, go down the list of things, all right? But here we are. Here we are. The reason she appeals to somebody like me is she's rational, she's presidential, and she's against our troops going to do fool's errands overseas. And we're not threatened by Russia right now, although the tension that this is causing, the media is causing, has caused kind of a little bit of a Cold War. And Maher here, all he cares about is, oh, Putin's a really bad guy and Trump shouldn't make jokes. And you need to be against making those jokes, Tulsi. And Tulsi's like, look, we need, better foreign policy all over the place. And he wanted her to come and join in the commiserating against Trump, and she wanted to talk about issues. This is why she's not like anyone else. And she said that here in the interview, where she basically said they really don't know how to deal with me. And that's what I love about Tulsi Gabbard is they don't, and this is why she is the best candidate who in my lifetime, this is the best candidate I've ever seen run for president. I mean, we could have the Lexus with all the options here. I'm just using a dumb analogy here. Instead of, you know, the old Cadillac that's in there now, we could have a finely tuned machine in there who's ready on day one, okay? Ready on day one to do what needs to be done, including bringing our troops back home, all right? And standing up to the military-industrial complex. So, again, great performance. I think overall, I mean, Bill Maher, what was he going to do? He couldn't get angry with her. And she had great intel. He asked her about, you know, the elections and Russia, and she rattled off all this information about securing our elections. She's ready, people. She's ready on every single issue. And she's nuanced, and she's specific. All right. In any event, nuance and specific is kind of the same thing. But I'm done with this video. Again, thanks for watching these videos. It's been really humbling. I get a lot of kind comments. People are asking me how come I don't do a lot of liking comments on YouTube. Quite honestly, I can't spend... I got another video channel I run, and I've got a 5-year-old. So you make the call on that. What's the most important thing? But I appreciate the comments, most of them being positive. And if you're negative, look, I'm just some guy. You know, I'm not anybody that important. I'm just trying to do the best I can with this. All right, see you soon, and thanks for watching.